Hello everyone and welcome back to the Brightworks and another match of Beyond All Reason. Sure hope you're having a great day today as we jump into a match that today was played on Lunar Crater. Oh no, sorry, this is called Dark Side. I thought it was called Lunar Crater for some reason. Might be thinking of some other game. Anyway, Dark Side, gonna be the map that we're taking a look at today, and it sure is a fun one. Got these two big craters right here that you can look at in the middle of the map right here. These commanders are gonna be vying for control over them. You can see there's some valuable metal extractors in there, but also some little remnants of an ancient civilization. Really gives you a scale of the size of the robots in this game, huh? The Tick is more like a mid-sized sedan, and the Pawn towers over even these little industrial power plants over here. Pretty interesting. Anyways, spawning over here on the southwestern side, representing the red team as a Cortex commander, goes by the name of L. Morrison. Gonna be going for some of those Cortex vehicles, and that makes a whole lot of sense here as an opener. Yeah, going into those vehicles in this big flat open terrain here, definitely gonna have quite an HP bonus at the very least as he goes up against some bots potentially. All the way on the other side of the map, representing the blue, is an Armada commander, similarly going into vehicles though, a commander that goes by the name of Firmament. Firmament here going into triple solar panel because there's no wind on this map. The bane of my very existence. I absolutely hate playing without wind power. It just feels like I'm constantly drained of metal. And on top of that, a big map where vehicles are highly encouraged. Yeah, these commanders are going to be extremely metal starved for today. Now, one incentive, again, for going for bots, though, is the fact that there's all of these juicy buildings over here. If I turn on superior metal vision there we are, we can see 150 there, 150 there, 300 between both of these buildings. I do believe some quick maths would say that's 600 between those two, and another 150 there. So we're looking at a good, hefty chunk of metal here available to any commander bold enough to take control over the center of this area. Certainly enough metal to get a T1 army well up and underway. Turn those off right there. So who's going to get aggressive first is always the big question on everybody's mind. Looks like we do have some ticks running out. Oh no, sorry, some rovers actually. Rascals, third time's the charm, going to be heading out on the map. Looks like one of them will actually end up moving towards, one or two of them will end up moving towards the enemy side of the map. And I think we have our first engagement. Like ships in the night, they sail past each other. Ah, lovely. Love to see that. Oh, okay, actually looks like these rascals will turn around and go re-engage. Beautifully done. Yeah, okay. Red commander looking to get into the fight of it. That rascal there in green, though, doing a great job of blasting down some of its competitors over here. A brutal battle between these T1 rover craft firing their little side-mounted cannons, light cannons. Reminds me a lot of the bikes from Nod in Command & Conquer, if anybody's played that game. If you're, pardon me, if you're an RTS enthusiast, I'm sure you've heard of it at the very least. It's worth a check. It's pretty good, pretty good. Granted, it's been a good long while since I've actually taken a look at that game, so maybe some things have changed. What are we going to go for as far as composition production? I'm expecting to see quite a lot of incisors here. It looks like we're going to get a pounder out first and foremost, those. We saw in that 1v1, especially between Strawberry and Lost Deadman, I believe it was, the power of the pounder and its ability to absolutely devastate anything out of the T1 arsenal there. Definitely has some shortcomings though, so you have to be really careful about it. Nice micro over here. L. Morrison blasting away at that metal extractor. Great pick right there. Gonna find an LLT and it will spell doom, however, for the rest of those rascals as they get blasted to smithereens, ending that aggression quite promptly. Bottom side of the map, a little bit of aggression here as well. A couple of grunts falling as the pawn counterparts do engage with them. Nice bit of kiting right there. Gotta pull the grunts backwards. It's how they outmaneuver the pawns, is by running backwards and having just a little bit more range. Makes them a little bit better at their job against the Armada units than against other grunts. You're also relatively safe fight commanding your grunts forward because they'll stop just outside of the range of the pawns, which is quite nice. A little bit of a run by over here, and Zordoraka doing a great job of moving some units through as well, getting a little bit of damage done. Looks like there was a metal extractor sniped as well by a couple of rovers, sent on through by Firmament. Really nicely done by the blue team, continuing to apply pressure all over the place. More blue units on the side of the red than red units on the side of the blue, and so I'd have to give that award promptly to the red team here. Solar panels blasted down. Oh, that really hurts. Every one of those closes up and takes away 20 energy per second here from the Maroon Commander, so every time one of those gets hit, it really does hurt quite a bit. It's only temporary. As you can see, they're reopening again in the top right-hand corner over there. Temporary, but still painful. There we go. Construction turret retargeted to eat up that rover, and all is once again well. Construction turret down to just 25% health. That would have been extremely painful if that rover had taken out the construction turret. An extremely cost-inefficient trade right there. Incisor pushes too far forward here. I wonder how the ranges of Incisor stack up against Blitzes, sort of the vehicle equivalent to Pawns and Grunts here. The Incisor lining up for, oh, was there weapon range? Oh, I don't see their range all of a sudden. Uh-oh. Accuracy, range, there it is. 230 versus the Blitz. Range of 180. Okay, yeah, so incisors do outrange the Blitz, is what I was trying to confirm right there. I thought that was the case, but I wanted to make triple sure right there. Nice D-guns right there. L. Morrison carving away at some of these units over here. A lot of Blitzes right there. Yeah, very nice D-gun right there. Carves up that entire army. Commander is getting real low over here, though. Gotta be so careful. You really don't want to lose this commander this early on, especially going up against vehicles. The commander's D-gun can be extremely powerful in cleaning up big tank pushes that ball up just a little too much. Nicely done by the red commander escaping from there. Very, very dicey situation, but does manage to pull back in the nick of time. Going to throw up some LLTs here, and I think those will be great as well for dissuading any more of these incisors or really any of these light tanks from pushing forward. Blitzes included, of course. Air player today for the red team going to be the orange player. Goes by the name of Klev, hailing from Germany. Actually, a lot of German players here on the red team. Very interesting. Wonder if they're allied together, like teamed together, or what is the... I forget what the system is inside the game. There's a way that you can party up with your friends. Maybe it's called partying. Either way. Commander goes down over here. Abiyala. Abiyala. The Seafoam commander here. Going to reap the benefits of that fallen commander. Eating up as much of that juicy reclaim as possible. Well, if we're going to leave the corpse, I think we definitely want to D-gun it. Trying to repair the LLT. Oh, okay. Bumlice actually comes in for the D-gun here. Interesting choice right there. Abiyala. Abiyala. Commander goes down, but actually Bumlice goes down with it. Okay, actually I did not expect that. I thought Bumlice's commander was far enough away and hadn't taken enough damage for that to happen, but instead, both commanders do end up going down right there. There's a couple of maces that are out, and those are quite good against the grunts if they can manage to hit them. If they can manage to hit them. It's, yeah, not surprising, though, that those grunts are going to be able to coordinate themselves and maneuver around the mace's firepower. That's one of the reasons why you need so many more maces to be effective than the amount of grunts that you need to be effective. You can, in other words, do a whole lot more damage with 5 grunts than you can with 5 maces, just because of the fact that the grunts are so much more maneuverable. There's a lot more. There's a higher ceiling to their micro. Maybe a more elegant way of putting that. Medium tanks here, falling left, right, and center. Yeah, those Rocketeers, agitators, aggravators. Very, very dangerous. Certainly one of the better options against medium tanks. There's not a great option for the bots. You're kind of forced into either deciding... Oh, this is not the right way to use those, though. You're sort of forced into deciding between thugs or aggravators, i.e. maces or Rocketeers for Armada. There's not a correct answer, just different approaches, right? If you're going for these aggravators, they're very slow, they're very long ranged, but they also don't fire very quickly. Very cheap as well, or not cheap, very flimsy. They don't have a whole lot of HP. Whereas the maces are a little bit sturdier, but they're also pretty slow, and they don't fire extremely quickly, but a little bit quicker than the aggravators here. Just means that you have to choose, you know, one problem or another, and overall, no one solution is going to be equivalent to just going vehicles yourself. Usually that's the best approach here. That being said, if you can manage to fight the good fight with those bots, and you can shut down enough of those vehicles, and then you can resurrect them or reclaim them, that certainly is one way to get a huge amount of value out of a bot army against a vehicle army, effectively doubling or tripling the amount of metal. You can imagine here, plasma, or the thugs here, 140 metal, versus the stouts, 225. You'd only have to resurrect 1 or 2 stouts to add 3 more thugs to your army. It's a pretty brutal exchange rate. Missile trucks being annoying over here. Looks like our Seafoam commander has got a couple of those missile trucks out on the front lines here and is firing away at the maces. Very tricky to deal with those. You need to jump on top of all of them at the same time, otherwise you're just going to constantly be kited backwards like this. And there we go. Yeah, those missile trucks really picking apart the maces right there. My goodness, those missile trucks are painful. There we go. Maces do finally step in and manage to actually get some damage on one of them. Still, though, those missile trucks kiting backwards going to start slowly whittling away. LLTs here are going to be more than enough as well, and I think just like that, those missile trucks will escape with their lives. That mace will be forced to tuck tail and run. No other option, basically, at all available here for the yellow commander. Transitioning away from the maces is always hard too, because it feels like such a huge upfront investment that essentially the only way to recoup your cost is to literally eat up your own units from the battlefield. And ideally you eat them before they're even destroyed. So if you're thinking about a T2 transition, one thing that I would urge people to consider is the fact that you don't actually need to wait until your units are destroyed. You don't need to send them across the map to get value out. Remember that if you eat up one of your units before it's destroyed, you get the whole value. So you could put 130 metal per mace back into your bank account and you could use it to fund a T2 transition. A little risky, obviously, because it means that you're giving up a whole lot of your units, and if your enemy decides that it's an opportune time to push you, if they realize that with proper scouting, then it's absolutely very, very dangerous to give away all your units in exchange for a little bit more tech. But if you've already got an advantage, say a positional advantage, like for instance the purple player is grabbing up on the northern side here, it's definitely an option that you might consider. T2 lab is up and running. Looks like Morrison advised his teammate not to go for the T2 lab, but the words of warning were not heeded here. And just like that, MROX is going to be overwhelmed as all of the metal is going into producing a T2 lab and none of it is going back to producing any units whatsoever. And now there's a whole army of thugs moving directly towards the Maroon commander's base. A single Rocketeer going to save the day, unlikely, but it'll do its best. MROX commander forced into a brutal retreat as well. Yeah, that is a huge, huge, huge push right here from the purple player. Swiggle Diggle. Love that name. Mace is moving forward. Thugs, rather, moving forward. Heavy laser tower, pretty good for blasting away at those, though. You can see it does about 20% damage per shot. Heavy laser towers are a contentious topic. They certainly don't feel as good as they should be for their price, but also making them more powerful might make them a little bit too powerful. In other words, T1 defenses are sort of meant to be essentially flimsy, especially relative to T2 scale. But there's no denying that once a whole bunch of medium tanks get involved, heavy laser towers aren't even going to cut it. Ooh, aggravators pushing into maces over here. Certainly one way for those maces to trade out fairly efficiently here. A lot of yellow units going down over here. I can't help but wonder if all those units going down is just going to be too much metal. Going back to the blue team right now. MFPP Ralum going to be trying to aggress against Firmament over here. Crossway. Or Crossway? The brown commander here. Retreating to a corner. Gonna go ahead and park his commander. Busy microing a bunch of missile bots over here. Or missile trucks, rather. At this point, the army has been pushed back for Swiggle Diggle, but this should be a T2 transition immediately. Yeah, we've got the T2 lab already up and running here for the purple commander. Don't have quite enough metal right now, but the commander can certainly reclaim some of this off the front lines. Otherwise, we can just wait. Plenty of metal extractors coming up in the middle of the map here too, so it's not like there's not an opportunity to go for a little bit of a T2 transition. My goodness, the T1 solar panels are thick. Just for a scale of reference here, we have a combined total of 5,115 metal worth of T1 solar panels put out on the map right here. Oh no, we've actually got a couple more. Okay, let's grab these, and then let's grab these. There we go. Nearly 6,700 metal in T1 solar panels right here for the Beat Commander. My goodness. What a greedster. Definitely going to need to put that metal into something a little bit more productive here, I think, if he wants to survive. He or she, Bibodo, wants to survive this oncoming onslaught of medium tanks. Beamer turret doing the best it can. Funny kind of static defense, that one. It just whittles down the units slowly but very, very steadily. And it does a great job of it. I think I definitely prefer the Beamer turret to something like, say, 2 or 3 LLTs. It feels like the Beamer turret is very good for the fact that it can maintain a lock on a target. Construction vehicles here used to dismantle a tank in movement. Not ideal, I would say. There we go. Construction turret's going to finish the job, though. A bull will be the first thing we produce right here. I'm surprised we're not going for a T2 constructor and into a T2 economy. Usually you want to get that T2 economy basically up and running as quick as possible. Czar is under production as well right here for El Morrison. So just for reference, sorry, I know people complain when I do this, but 375 energy for those advanced solar panels versus, and for 1,800 metal versus 860 energy for 6,700 metal for T1 solar panels. Yeah, just revel in that inefficiency right there. You get 200 extra energy for nearly, I think, more than double the cost. Brutal. getting into a habit of producing a whole bunch of those advanced solar panels in the background, just sending 2 or 3 constructors to go build those advanced solar panels, especially on maps where you really don't you really don't have access to wind energy, whether it's low or just non-existent like this one. Yeah, it can save you in the long run here. The blue army just has enough stuff. They put the metal out on the field here. The metal is all economy right now for the pink player, but it's nowhere on the field, and that's exactly why the blue team is able to just push right on through. More and more medium tanks run on in here. Energy converters go up in a brilliant explosion right there. Beautifully, beautifully done. T2 Lab trying to pump out units as fast as it can, but there's just not enough metal in the bank right here. Those medium tanks are having a field day, tearing apart the entire base right here for the pink player. Yellow player also eliminated here. A gunship has been sent across the map. All right. That's cheeky. Love a good gunship here and there. Pops some of the build power as well, so that's quite nice. Doesn't recoup the cost from losing essentially 2 bases right here for the red team. I absolutely don't think so. Yeah, the red team making up the difference in their economies by reclaiming right now, but that's a short-term temporary solution to a long-term problem. It's going to take a whole lot in order for the red team to come back at this point. Medium tanks are dealing with oncoming Rocketeers and Maces over here. Not sure this is exactly where we intend to be microing these. Purple Panda might want to look into re-rallying his troops over here. Thinking about sending him into the backline, but instead just being very efficiently taken down by these medium tanks. Definitely a bit of a over-expensive metal right there. Fiends trying to head down south here to burn up some of these medium tanks as well. Not a bad option. The medium tanks are definitely susceptible to the fires of the Pyro's flamethrower. Very, very good stuff indeed, but unfortunately, medium tank is just sturdy. It's just got a lot of HP, and so there's a lot you have to do in order to bring one of those things down. And especially if you're going into those T2 early bots, the Sprinter as well falls into this category. It can be really, really tricky to manage that. Tsar has been working away over here. Looks like it's trying to take down some of these heavy tanks. Doing a decent job of it. I'll tell you what, if there was one unit that reminds me of Cortex, one unit that really screams Cortex design philosophy, it's gotta be the Tsar. I feel like that tank just really means everything that Cortex stands for. Hit hard, ask questions later, wear a big coat, steel around your sensitives. Being used as a siege unit here, blowing apart the static defenses. Gonna start firing on this agitator over here, lobbing plasma balls across the field. Those construction turrets putting in some serious work though, keeping that Tsar alive. It will bring down the agitator with its last volley, but it also means that it pays for its life, or pays for that damage rather, with its own life. Morrison in a little trouble here too. That heavy tank is moving forward. D-gun it. There we go. Nice D-gun. Cleaning up that heavy tank. Singular. This doesn't look good. Loads of grunts as well as some fiends moving into the backlines right here for the tan player Anolis, who is now suffering at the hands of those extremely high damage T2 assault bots, burning their way across the entire energy infrastructure over here. We do have shurikens out to try and deal with all this, but the shurikens, like I've said before, they are just a band-aid on a bigger wound. This is not really going to fix itself without some unit support over here. Those shuriken are just never going to be able to stem the flow of units that are constantly being leaked through. Grunts blasting away at everything over here. Advanced metal extractors are falling. The production building has also fallen right here for the tan player, and it looks like Indeed has actually tapped out of this game. The red team is dropping like flies. We do have the Sheldon firing away up north. These Sheldon have single-handedly been keeping the center of this map clear of units over here. I think they're basically the only T2 force that's been meaningfully impacting the center of this map right now. The Shuriken have been doing a great job of delaying all the inevitable over here, but eventually the units are going to overwhelm the forces of those paralyzer drones, and it will be only a matter of time before these solar panels and then the commander and then the entire base burns to the ground. There they go. Just like that, the solar panels pop. Shurikens trying their very best, but there's just not enough of them. You need about an infinite amount. Oh, maybe not an infinite. A couple hundred of them would probably do. We don't have it here, though. Heavy tanks trying their very best to fire away at whatever they can. Catch a constructor there is quite nice. Medium tanks pushing forward right now, trying desperately to find an opening. Maybe even trying to make an opening here. Bull suffering at the hands of that surround bonus. Definitely making these heavy tanks hit quite a bit harder here. One of those bulls goes down to 3 of the Tiger tanks that are firing away. Medium tanks here also for emotional support and maybe a little bit of tanking. Those bulls not going to have that much trouble dealing with those, though, especially if they're all grouped up. And I think eventually this is going to be cleaned up quite nicely here. Yeah, red player decides to tap out of this game. At the same time, the cyan player, Storm of Steel, indeed storming across the entire face of the red team, as now the production facilities for the red player go down. A whole bunch is burning as we speak right here on the back lines. That T2 air lab in a whole lot of trouble. Paralyzer drones continuing to try their very best, but there's just not enough they can do. The orange player resigns as well, bringing us down to just 4. Oh, looks like Bumlice is still in there. For some reason I thought Bumlice had tapped out of the game. Lost the base, but still standing, holding on to the very last. Admirable. Very admirable. With no pressure anymore, Storm of Steel sets up a little air lab over here. Very good to see. Gonna try and close out this game by going for a little bit of air. We do have the Fat Boys over here being obliterated by rockets and fire and everything else in the book. There they go. Finally blasted down by all that T1 stuff. There's also some Hounds over here. They're doing a great job of melting away a whole lot of this whenever they have an opportunity. Hounds very tricky to micro properly because sometimes they can move themselves quite a bit further than you actually intended to if you don't have vision for them. They're one of those units that has quite a lot of firepower and quite a lot of range, but not quite so much vision. Definitely need to include a radar bot or 2 or 3 in the mix in order to make sure those Hounds don't wander a bit further than you probably anticipated them to. This is definitely a killing blow right here, though. Fiends and Grunts alike moving forward. One of my favorite compositions as a Cortex commander, because it's so easy to transition into. You just keep your T1 bot lab around and go into these Fiends, which are relatively inexpensive for the T2 era by any means. They're very, very easy to get into the enemy's backline, and the Grunts clean up any spam that they might be sending your way. And indeed, it will mean that a victory is claimed right here for the blue team across the southern side and then up through into the north here, as the red team does fall. Beautifully done by the blue team. Love to see that. What an excellent game. If you enjoyed this one, you can always hit the like button down below. It really helps these videos get out there, shows more people the game, which grows BAR as a community. Always makes me thrilled to see that. And also, if you feel like joining the Beyond or the Brightworks community, rather, you can join the Discord down below, and you can find a whole bunch of people that practice and play and do all sorts of fun stuff there as well. Other than that, though, I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in the very next match of Beyond All Reason. Peace out, folks.